Well, hello everyone. My name is Xav Dubois and I'm CEO of evox Television, located here in San Francisco, but located globally, worldwide. I have the privilege to be here with Jon Coleman from Ford Motor Company today. And I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about. I think we're going to explore what Ford's, kind of what Ford's program is around sustainability right now, and your areas of focus, and what are the kind of the corporate challenges you might have in reaching the sustainability and green communities right now, if there are.
Well, it's a great question. We started working with the Green Festivals quite a few years ago, primarily because we were partnering with different NGOs, and they were kind of the canary in the coal mine, telling us what we needed to focus on and how we needed to connect, because a lot of things that Ford was focusing on weren't really the salient issues that customers were interested in and people in the sustainability space. You know, we have a green roof on one of our assembly plants. It's an absolutely fascinating feat of technology. But compared to the fleet of vehicles that we have out on the road, our carbon footprint isn't how we build the vehicles. It's what happens when they leave the factory. So we got involved with different NGOs, and the Green Festival being one of those groups, to make sure that we got the feedback from the right people in the community to help shape what we do with sustainability. So a lot of the things that we do with biomaterials, we've got a display here at the Green Festival that shows all the different components in one door that are made from things like sweet potatoes and wood chips and corn husks and all the types of things that you wouldn't expect to find in a car. And we have all these different things we put in there, and that was based on people telling us, there's this waste fuel, or waste from rice husks that's just a big challenge for the rice industry. And they came to us and said, is there anything you guys could do with this? Because it serves a purpose for nature, protecting the rice. Is there something in the car that needs protection like that? And we studied it, and with a little bit of R&D, we found out, we can use this to insulate wiring harnesses on F-150s. So you've got rice in an F-150 now. We have soybeans that make up the seat foam in a lot of the cars that we have. So we got all these different bio things that we would never have looked at before. We're working with Ohio State University on dandelions, that kind of that white stuff that sticks to your hands when you break off dandelions when you're a little kid. Well, it turns out that there are certain types of dandelions that we can make rubber out of that. So we have bio rubber as opposed to petroleum-based rubber. And what a lot of people view as a weed, we're trying to figure out how to cultivate as a crop. So there are all different types of things that we're learning from engaging with the sustainable community that help us figure these things out. And we do the same thing with recycling. There are about 2 pairs of denim jeans in the firewalls of most of the cars that we have that work as a sound deadener or a fire retardant. You don't think about that until we found out that the denim industry, when jeans wear out, they're pretty tough. And that's the reason that jeans exist. We're here in San Francisco. Levi's kind of made jeans popular. Well, now you find those in cars as well. So there are all kinds of things that we work on, inside the vehicles to make the vehicles lighter, make them stronger, more capable. And when you make the vehicle lighter, that improves the fuel economy, which addresses the carbon footprint as well. So lots of different things coming together in Ford's sustainability story. But it doesn't stop with just the vehicles. We've got issues in the world where there are traffic jams that last for days. Now, we think we have traffic problems here in the U.S., and occasionally when you get stuck on the 405 or you get stuck on the Beltway in D.C., it's bothersome. In Beijing, they had a traffic jam that lasted 11 days. If you have an 11-day traffic jam, you have a serious problem. And we looked at that and said, if there are 1 billion cars on the road today, and people are projecting there's going to be 1 billion cars and more in the future, where are we going to put them? So then you start figuring out, are we in the car business or are we in the mobility business? And really, our goal is to help people get from A to B and get their stuff from A to B. And that changes the whole perspective on transportation. So how do we enable people to get access to the formal economy that don't have it right now? If there are people who don't have access to health care, it's kind of a fundamental human right that you get basic health care in most of the places around the world. But if you can't get to it, then what use is it as having a human right? But, access to clean water. So as we look at these things, we start looking at mobility as a fundamental human right, and that really changes the perspective. It's not about putting rice in the vehicles or soybeans or things like that. It's about changing people's lives the way the Model T changed the world in the 20th century. So, very long answer to your question, but there's all kinds of stuff we have going on at Ford with sustainability.
So what do you think some of the driving factors are behind all the movement that you guys are taking at Ford? And the follow-up question is going to be, how does it work culturally at Ford? I mean, I'm from Detroit. You live in Detroit still, right? And so I kind of know the mindset of my people. Hey, my people, But you know what I mean? It took something. We used to go down Woodward Avenue. I had a '66, Chevy 2 Nova, and we built that thing up. And it was a car parade, and we had so much fun with that kind of. That's how we grew up. And so now I look at where we are now, and I'm just wondering, how have you guys shifted the internal conversation in the organization, where people actually value that, or does it look like it's kind of an add-on or an addition to the culture?
Well, you said it just the perfect way at the end there. Sustainability, wasn't even part of the vocabulary 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And when we did start looking at it, it really was kind of a bolt-on, that we had the rest of the business, and then, let's try and make it sustainable. Mm-hmm. And we realized in about 2005 that was a horrible way to run the business. That what we really needed to do was embed sustainability in the whole operation, so that you could have a solution that works for the company profit-wise, that works for the environment, that works for the customers, that works for everyone involved. When you get a solution like that, where the sustainability is embedded in what you do, it doesn't become a sustainable solution, it just becomes good business. Mm-hmm. So what's driving a lot of this is customers are asking for it. I mean, when you have a customer that comes to you and says, I'm interested in switching from diesel to natural gas. And that's for people who at Green Festival, some don't like fossil fuels at all. But I'll tell you, natural gas is better for the environment than diesel, when you look at the chemistry of it. If a customer comes to me and says, I want one vehicle, we think, okay, maybe it's not worth it for one. We have customers coming and saying, if you do it, we'll buy 1,000. Now, for anyone who's watching this who owns a business, if a customer comes to you and wants to buy 1,000 of something, say yes. Find a way to do it. When the customers are asking for it, it becomes a lot easier to build a business case. So we're looking at the value proposition that a lot of these sustainability issues provide, and the value proposition is huge for a lot of people. And it doesn't necessarily come down to basic economics. There are people who are interested in improving air quality. That are, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is interested in improving air quality. They're not interested in making money. Bill Gates has got enough. But what he is interested in doing is making the world a better place. So there's a value proposition for foundations like that. There are, the American Federation of Teachers wants to get diesel fuel out of school buses because it's something that they see affecting the learning of children and affecting their health. There are all kinds of value propositions based on sustainable solutions. And once someone points it out, then you start realizing, all right, how can we do it? How can we make that happen? And that's what's driving a lot of this behavior.
And when you look at the relationship between your audience, if you look at Toyota and you look at GM, and you look at Ford, how do you guys feel about yourselves in the industry? I mean, Toyota coming in kind of initially, and now you guys are really sweeping in such amazing ways right now. How do you feel like the entire market of sustainability when it comes down to auto development, design, is going?
There's a lot of teamwork going on in the auto industry. There are a lot of things that will become industry standards. And it doesn't make sense for everyone to design it on their own and everyone to spend the R&D. So we have efforts that we make with General Motors, with Toyota. There are industry-wide efforts. When we talk about autonomous vehicles or vehicle-to-vehicle communication, it's not a Ford-to-Ford communication. We'd like to have market share where that would be a good solution, but unfortunately, Ford share the road with everyone else's cars. So we need an industry-wide solution, a standard. So a lot of these things, we need the whole industry to work together. If you're interested in reducing dependence on foreign oil, you should want every manufacturer to succeed, and I do. I get really excited when Toyota does well with a new Prius, or when the Chevy Volt was introduced, or Nissan introduced a Pathfinder hybrid. There are all these different solutions out there, and anyone who's working to reduce dependence on foreign oil, it's still only 4% of the market are these alternative fuels, which means 96% of it is still being run by big oil. If we work together, then we can make a meaningful difference. And I'm all about competition, and I'm convinced that when people take a look at it and they decide what car to buy, there'll be a blue oval on the front of it. I'm that confident that we can go out there and compete head to head. And if we don't have the good enough product, tell me. I'll get back with the product development guys, and we'll come back with a better product next go around.
That's great. What are some of your toughest, I look at San Francisco, and we were talking a little bit earlier how, I live here now, and so, again, my people, we're a little skeptical. We're a little cynical around people who want to make social change in the world, and big business, for me personally, is such an amazing opportunity to make social change. I love conscious capitalism. I think it's a really brilliant way, it's a great model to change the planet. But here in San Francisco especially, I find a lot of people who are like, Ford, big business, what are they really up to? What's this really about? Yeah. Do you approach any of that at all while you're here?
What's my hidden agenda?
Yes, what's the hidden agenda? Exactly.
The way Ford approaches sustainability is, we've already talked about the environmental aspect, and another part is it has to be economically feasible. I mean, as much as well, actually, I don't hate to say it, it's part of capitalism, it's what we do. Making money is one of the goals at the end of this.
Yeah.
And that value proposition. But the key part, and this is where I hope your people will welcome us in, whether in Detroit or in San Francisco, is that looking at social responsibility is the third leg of the stool. And most companies, unfortunately, tend to view social responsibility as following the law. And if that's your definition of social responsibility, you're setting the bar as low as you possibly can, because it's something that society has already said is not good, and they actually went through all the struggle of getting it written into law, which, as we've seen recently, to get something into law takes an awful lot of effort. So it's a lagging indicator of some of the worst kind. Social responsibility, a much better definition from Ford's perspective, is being welcomed into the communities where you operate. So no matter what business you're in, if the community welcomes you in as someone who's helping the community, whether it's creating jobs or whether it's being a responsible steward of the environment or increasing the economic prospects of people, or whatever you're doing, if you get welcomed in, that is the true definition of social responsibility. And really the keystone of any sustainability strategy is that the people you're working with and closest to are the ones that bring you in. And if that happens, then you're welcome. That's really, people are surprised at a green festival, the key sponsor is an automotive company. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. I mean, they think it's oil and water coming together. And in reality, this is one of the best examples we have of being welcomed into a community, because this community is very skeptical. They are very cynical about big business, and rightly so. I mean, that's a reputation we've earned. But there are a lot of people in business who realize that we can probably get more done than governments around the world, because we cross borders. If someone's willing to buy a car, I don't care what country they're in, I don't care what political party they're in, if they want to buy a car, I want to sell them a car. And that type of approach in all different kinds of businesses really helps get things done and truly does change the world.
Jon Coleman, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for talking on behalf of Ford. Really appreciate your time. Give us the opportunity to find out, get some insights in regards to Ford. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Have a great day.
Take care.